THF Bob-o, a prominent member of the Woodlawn-based THF, trigger-happy family gang, is no stranger to the drill scene. Known for his fearlessness and loyalty, Bob-o is celebrated in drill music, often referenced by other gang members. His legacy continues to stir emotions in the streets, with mixed feelings about his reputation. But it's clear, he was a soldier of the streets. While Bob-o may have been a beloved figure within his crew, his life was defined by two realities: the love of his gang and the brutal, chaotic world of street life. He was more than just a name on a track or a figure of lore. Bob-o was the kind of man who would go to any lengths for his crew. Known for being a real guerrilla, Bob-o didn't shy away from violence or intimidation, particularly when it came to handling anyone who wasn't down with the set. Despite this treacherous reputation, Bob-o was also a man who kept ties to his family. He was a father, someone torn between the violent world he inhabited and the desire to be there for his newborn child. This duality shows the struggle many face in the streets, caught between survival and the pull of family. Bob-o's street reputation wasn't just built on words, it was forged in violence. His name became synonymous with death, bloodshed, and ruthless retribution. While many gang members talk about the streets, Bob-o lived the streets, and his actions spoke louder than any rap lyric or boastful claim. The streets were where he earned his stripes, and his body count was a testament to his survival and his dominance in a ruthless world. Rumors swirl that Bob-o had multiple bodies under his belt, each kill adding to his legacy. But there is one death that stands out in the lore of Bob-o's life: Big A, the sister of a fellow gang member. Big A's death shook the streets to their core, and many say it was Bob-o who was responsible for carrying out the killing. The incident was believed to be an act of retaliation, a response to an earlier betrayal or slight. But the true motivations behind her death are clouded in mystery. Some say Bob-o simply executed the hit as part of a larger street conflict, while others argue that he masterminded it from the start. The latter theory suggests a deeper, more personal involvement, perhaps a calculated move to settle scores or solidify his position in the gang hierarchy. While the details remain murky, shrouded by the usual street secrecy and code of silence, the whispers in the streets are hard to ignore. Bob-o's name is frequently mentioned in connection with this killing, not just because of the act itself, but because of the cold, methodical nature with which it was carried out. It's clear that Bob-o wasn't just a soldier in the streets. He was someone who could pull the strings when necessary, orchestrating hits with the precision of someone who had been in the game for years. But Bob-o's reputation extended beyond just taking lives. He wasn't just a killer. He was a street figure through and through, known for his robberies, his willingness to take what was owed, and his ironclad loyalty to the THF set. His criminal activities weren't limited to murder. Bob-o was also notorious for robbing people, often engaging in stick-ups or heists to increase his influence and control in the streets. Money, in Bob-o's world, wasn't just a resource, it was power. And Bob-o knew how to wield power like few others. His loyalty to the THF crew wasn't just about keeping his friends close, it was about survival. In a world where trust is a rare commodity, Bob-o's allegiance to his set meant everything. For him, loyalty wasn't just a moral principle. It was the only thing that could guarantee his place in the ruthless, ever-shifting power dynamics of the street game. It's said that Bob-o would never hesitate to defend his crew, no matter the cost. Whether it meant robbing an enemy or facing down a rival gang, Bob-o's dedication to THF was unwavering. This loyalty made him both a respected and feared figure. On one hand, he was seen as the ultimate ride or die, a person who would never switch sides, no matter the situation. But on the other hand, his unflinching commitment to his set made him a target for anyone who wanted to take down THF or weaken its influence in the streets. Bob-o's name was both revered and dreaded, and his violent actions only added to his mythos. The bloodshed he left in his wake painted him as a man who had no fear of the consequences, whether it was a gunfight in a dark alley or a cold, calculated hit. In Bob-o's world, survival wasn't about being the most ruthless. It was about being the smartest and the most loyal. The streets talk, and even in death, Bob-o's name carries weight. The violence he left behind is a part of his legacy, a bitter reminder of the brutal reality of street life. His actions, both legendary and controversial, cemented his place in the narrative of Chicago's gang culture, where loyalty is paramount and bloodshed is often the price of survival. In the end, Bob-o wasn't just another name in the long list of fallen street soldiers. He was a figure whose reputation shaped the streets and whose story continues to echo in the whispers of those who still walk them. As Bob-o's involvement in street violence escalated, so did the number of enemies lining up against him. The more blood he spilled, the more people he pissed off, and in the world he lived in, that meant trouble was always on the horizon. With each robbery, each betrayal, and each violent act, Bob-o climbed higher in the ranks of fear and respect, but he also made himself a prime target for those who wanted to take him down. In the end, Bob-o's story became one of betrayal, fate, and a calculated hit that would seal his legacy in the streets. Bob-o's downfall didn't come from a lack of street smarts. If anything, it was the opposite. His ruthless nature and constant expansion of his empire through robbery and violence eventually caught up with him. At one point, he found himself deep in the middle of a robbery charge that could have sent him to prison for a long time. The stakes were high. If convicted, he could face years behind bars or worse, a murder conviction. But Bob-o wasn't the type to fold under pressure. He had seen the inside of a cell before, and it didn't scare him. Instead, he decided to gamble. He requested a quick trial, hoping to catch the system off guard and slip through the cracks. It was a bold move, but it paid off. The case against Bob-o collapsed when the prosecution was unable to gather enough evidence to convict him. The charges were dropped, and he walked out of the courtroom a free man. To the streets, it was like Bob-o had pulled off a miraculous escape. His name continued to grow, and the rumors of his luck spread like wildfire. But for Bob-o, this wasn't just a victory. It was a temporary reprieve, a brief moment of freedom before the inevitable crash that was coming for him. Bob-o's escape from the robbery charge, however, wasn't the end of his story. It was the beginning of the end. Just days after making bail, he found himself back in the streets, where the past doesn't stay buried for long. His freedom was fleeting, and fate had other plans. It wasn't long before Bob-o's enemies, who had been waiting for the perfect opportunity, decided it was time to make their move. Minutes after leaving Cook County Jail, Bob-o was gunned down in what was clearly a targeted execution. The hit was swift, precise, and calculated, an unmistakable sign that someone had been watching him closely. The way the shooting went down suggested that the killers had inside information on Bob-o's release. They knew exactly when he would walk out of the jail and exactly where he would be. It wasn't just luck, it was a setup. The shooting was followed by a car crash, which pointed even more strongly to the fact that this wasn't just a random act of street violence. The crash, occurring immediately after the shooting, seemed to be part of a larger plan, a move to make sure Bob-o didn't survive. Whether it was to prevent him from seeking revenge or just to make a statement, the execution had all the hallmarks of a well-orchestrated hit. The details of who was behind the killing remain unclear, but one thing is certain: Bob-o's enemies knew him better than he knew them. In a world built on loyalty and trust, Bob-o's fall came because someone he trusted, or someone who had been watching from the shadows, made the ultimate betrayal. The execution wasn't just about getting rid of a problem, it was about sending a message. In the end, Bob-o's life ended just as violently as it had been lived. A brutal reminder that, in the streets, no one is invincible, and loyalty can quickly turn to treachery when the stakes are high. For those who knew Bob-o, his death was the final chapter in a life filled with bloodshed, betrayal, and survival. But for the streets, his death became another story to tell, another legend to add to the long list of those who fell victim to the unforgiving world they inhabited. The way he died, caught off guard, his fate sealed by the people around him, became part of the mythos that surrounded his name. Bob-o, for all his power and influence, had been just another man who couldn't outrun the consequences of his own actions. And in a world like his, where violence is a currency, there's always someone waiting for the right moment to collect. The timing of Bob-o's death raised suspicions. How did the shooters know where Bob-o was going to be? The street rumors pointed to a betrayal from within, suggesting that someone had leaked the information on his release. It said that the hit was ordered by rivals who had connections inside the jail or among people close to Bob-o. In an eerie twist, some suggest that a key figure in the streets, known as Crump, admitted to having a role in the death of Bob-o, essentially taking credit for the execution. This claim further deepened the mystery surrounding Bob-o's death, as Crump had been known for his cryptic comments on such matters. His confession, whether symbolic or literal, cemented Bob-o's death as another chapter in the bloody saga of Chicago gang warfare. Bob-o's life and death serve as a stark reminder of the cyclical nature of violence that defines much of the gang culture. While Bob-o's loyalty to his people earned him respect, his violent actions and connections made him a prime target. The streets are unforgiving, and as Bob-o's story shows, loyalty can come with deadly consequences. His life was a constant battle between trying to provide for his family and maintaining his status in a dangerous world. His death was a direct result of the betrayal and tension that permeates gang life. In the end, Bob-o's legacy is a cautionary tale, an example of how one can get caught in the web of street loyalty, betrayal, and violence. His story is one of respect earned and loyalty tested, but also one of the brutal realities of life in the streets. While the streets may mourn Bob-o, the chaos he left behind is a bitter reminder of the life he led. For all the love and respect he earned, Bob-o was ultimately a casualty of the very world he helped create. May he rest in peace, and may his story serve as a warning to those who choose the same path. And that's a wrap for today's video. We hope you enjoyed the deep dive and the insight we brought to the table. Before you go, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. Ring the notification bell while you're at it. That way, you'll always be the first to know when we drop something new. Oh, and if you found value in this video, smash that like button. It's totally free, but it helps us out way more than you might think. Every like, comment, and share helps keep this channel growing, so we can bring you even more great videos. Thanks for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay tuned, and keep it locked right here.